I always think it's no use being a celiac and opening a bakery. So I think you have to do something that aligns with who you are, because that will show through with your customers. It'll show through in everything that you actually do, and it will get you out of bed in the morning.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Joe Vitale. You've landed on Zero Limits Living. Every week I bring you inspiration and information to transform your life. This show has become so popular so quickly, you can now see it or hear it on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Spotify, or 1,000 other places. Probably anything you could name, and probably anything you're on right now. I'm putting all the shows in one place, ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com, so you can easily go and binge. And you can also sign up to be notified whenever a new show is posted. So go to ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. People ask me about coaching. Coaching is very trendy these days and very modern, but they don't know that I started a coaching program almost 20 years ago. It's trademarked, it's proven, it's a system that works. If you're curious, go to miraclescoaching.com, miraclescoaching.com. No charge, no obligation. Find out what this is all about and if it's a match for you. My latest program is still doing fantastic, and I want to make sure you check it out. Go to mentaltimetravelsystem.com. Surely you're curious from the name alone. mentaltimetravelsystem.com. And if you're watching or listening to this show, you know that I'm an author, most likely. I've written 90 some books. Even I'm impressed when I say it. And my latest is called Unexpected Kindness. And Unexpected Kindness has already become a bestseller. It's selling on Amazon and other places. You can go to unexpectedkindnessbook.com or just go to Amazon and get it there. And now I have a treat for you. Let me tell you about my special guest who is waiting in the wings. Marie Temby is a small business and life coach with 28 years experience being a successful multi-bakery franchisee. She has written an international #1 best-selling book, Simple, Soulful, Successful, a mompreneur's journey to daily happiness through business, balance, and rituals. And she co-authored another bestseller, The Success Code. She didn't stop there. She's also written an online course, Authentic Success, the blueprint for scaling your business, growing your people, and finding life in balance. She is the founder of the brand, Simple, Soulful, Successful, and she has been a member of my Zero Limits mentoring group for many years. Zero Limits Mentoring is at ZeroLimitsMentoring.com, and Marie Temby is at MarieTemby.com. But more than that, she's right here with me now. Marie, how are you?
Hi, Dr. Joe and everybody. It is I'm fantastic, and I'm very honored to be a guest here with Dr. Joe this morning.
You know, I love how so eagerly you said yes when I invited you to be here, even when you didn't know what we would talk about, what I was going to say, what the questions might be, and what this was all about. You just jumped in. And then the 1 minute we had before we actually started the show, I asked if you had any questions, and you didn't. You said you're here to find out what it's all about. You were totally present in the moment, and I congratulate you because I think that's one of the secrets to success. Just saying yes, even when you don't know what you're going to be asked to do. Has that been your secret as well, or are you trying it out? Do you have the training wheels on right now?
I think I feel confident in your company. You've never steered me wrong in the
Oh,
past. So I do try to say yes. That's something that you've also taught me along the way. But yeah, I feel wherever we go you'll be guiding me. So I'm, feeling
You're
good.
good. Well,
Feeling
thank you.
good.
I feel the compliment, so I want to make sure I acknowledge that. Thank you for that. Thank you for your trust. Now, you don't have a Texas accent. So where
No.
are you?
Well, I'm from down under. I'm an Aussie girl. I live in
Oh.
Adelaide, South Australia. So it's very early in the morning here. Well, not too early. It's 6:30 in the morning here.
Mhm. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for getting up to do it. I've been to Australia twice, but they were in the Melbourne and North Coast or something. I forget what it was called, that side of Australia. But I absolutely loved it there. I wanted to move there the very first time I went. Just beautiful. It's kind of an oversized Texas in many ways because of the extreme heat, the extreme danger, and the uniqueness of the whole place. Were you born and raised there?
I was born in a little country town in New South Wales, Broken Hill. It's a little mining city, but I moved to Adelaide when I was 17. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's lovely here. But I'm coming over to Texas this later this year, so I'll get to
Wow.
see the similarities. Yeah.
Well, if it's later this year, it might cool off a little bit. Right now, we are sweltering in the Texas heat. So, Marie, your very first franchise was a bakery. I'm curious, why was it a bakery?
So it was at our engagement party that we had some friends that actually owned a bakery in this particular franchise, and they
Uh,
said, "You guys should go in and do that. You'd really love the business." And it was a franchise that was reasonably new at the time, and it was doing well. So we thought. I was an accountant at an ambulance firm, and my husband was a financial advisor, and he looked into it, and the next Monday we were signing up and he was doing the training. So
really?
yeah. So
That's a quick decision, though. Do you and he usually make big decisions like that pretty quickly, or was this totally unusual?
it was totally unusual. We really think about what he would sort of really look into something, but he was pretty sure straight away that it was a good deal. And we had friends that were in it, and he did his research, which he does in everything that we do. But we haven't looked back. We have had a really good journey for the last 28 years.
28 years of running that franchise? Is that what I just heard you say?
Yeah, so we sold the first one 5 years ago, and the second one we sold in November last year. So it was almost 28 years. We were the longest franchisees, not the oldest, but we were the ones that had been in the system the longest in our state in South Australia.
Now, I'm very impressed, and I also think you're the very first person I've spoken to that actually had a franchise. I've looked at them decades ago when I was thinking about what am I going to do. And I know a lot of people have done them. And for a long time, I heard that they were great money makers if you got a proven franchise, if you got one that had a template. And of course, the one I always heard about was the McDonald's franchise. It's like if you can afford the McDonald's franchise, you're probably going to do well. So when you did this franchise, was there a hefty investment or no investment? Did you have to put some kind of money down to get going?
Yeah, look, when we started, it was a hefty investment. It certainly was for us. So we had a
Yeah.
fair bit of family support to help us go into it.
Mhm.
And not quite the McDonald's level, because we know a lot of franchisees and have friends that have McDonald's. It's not as big these days to go into it as what it was when we started,
Mm,
but a lot of things have changed in the 27 years that we were
mhm.
involved.
So
Mm.
I'm really dying to know how difficult was it when you said, "Oh, this is exciting," and you both go and you sign the papers, and now you're going to have a bakery franchise, and you open the doors. Do you have baking experience? Do you have business experience? Do you have franchise experience? Do you have marketing experience? What did you run into, and what did you bring to the table on the day you opened up?
Okay, that's a good question. So, no, we didn't have baking experience at the time. My husband did a 4-month intensive training course, so
Wow.
he could bake very well by the time we went in there. So I had customer experience. I'd been serving customers since the age of 14, which is probably a bit of the magic secret in having a retail business is your customers, looking after your customers. So it was overwhelming very much at the start for us, but we had a few things that helped us along the way. He was in control of the back of the store and I was in control of the front of the store. So we had the final decision and the final say with whatever happened there. So we had a rule to never argue in front of our customers. So we put a few things in front of our staff. So our staff never in the years that we had the business, they never saw us have an argument in the store. So it was overwhelming, but we got really used to it. We found things along the way to make things easier. So that was part of where the coachings come into it, actually. I was sort of searching for things along the way so that it wouldn't be hard for others that were following.
This is amazing. And I'm so curious to know, you guys were doing this as newly married, I think. And did you raise your family? Did you have kids during this process?
We sure did. So we weren't married when we first went in, but we
You
were
weren't.
engaged. So in October, we bought in February. In October, we had a month's honeymoon planned, and we thought, how are we going to ever go on our honeymoon? But our staff were like our family. They become really close, and they told us, no, you're definitely going away, we'll look after the store. And when we went away, we came back to a very looked after store, which had actually even increased in sales for us while we were away. So we're very proud of them for what they did. Yes, we raised our family. I remember our first son was born on Christmas Day, and Christmas Eve is our second busiest day of the year. And I remember being fully pregnant and doing 300 orders at the back of the store on the day before he was born. But our kids don't know any different. My second son, I did actually lose a child just on this exact same day that we were signing the contract to buy our second store. So that was a very emotional time for us. So it was a high and a low at the same time. But we managed to get through that, and we had another beautiful boy. So I've got two boys, and so so that's all they know. Their life has been baker's delight. They've been very well fed over the years, and so we've raised them, and they don't know any different. They know us as being business owners, entrepreneurs. Yeah.
You are a marvel. You and your husband pull this off. I have so many questions about how do you maintain your relationship, for one thing, when you're both in this. It's not a war zone, but it's a busy zone. And if you're not arguing in front of your staff, were you arguing in the back alley or behind the kitchen? And I'm only semi-curious about that. I'm more curious about, how do you actually be in business with another person that you're living with? I have seen it a few times in my life, but most of the time I've not seen it work. And so when I hear about you making this work and actually having kids and you go on vacation, I hope you gave your staff a raise or something when you came back for that. What's the secret to making the relationship work when you're both in the same business?
Yeah, look, I always we found that if we were trying to separate work and our personal life, that was kind of hard. So we decided to start thinking of it as one. So it was just our life. That was a little bit of the secret. We also enjoy each other's company. So that was good. And it was, although we were in the same business, we had our own roles. So it wasn't like, I think that was definitely important for us, so that we didn't cross each other. So there were at times at home that we certainly had debates over what I thought was right and what he thought was right. But because we made the pact that he always had the decision in his and me for mine, we always settled for that. We also took a lot of time out. That was part of our secret. We would go on holidays regularly. So before the busy times, before Easter and before Christmas, we would do a working holiday together. So we would go to Bali for a week and just do Easter planning or Christmas planning throughout the day, but then we'd go and to the pool and do happy hour. So we always had a couple of and go out for a nice dinner and then come home. So we had lots of holidays with our kids because we worked hard. We made sure that was one of the pacts I had with him as well, that every holiday I would buy the second store if he ensured me that every school holidays we could have with our children and not work. So we did that. We would always have that time away. So we had some lovely holidays over the years of being in the business. So as it is, we sold in November, and we do have some time apart now with different things that we've been doing, and it's almost funny because we miss each other. Like we're so used to spending all the time together that now it's like, we don't like being apart.
That is wonderful. And congratulations on having a relationship like that and the success of your business and the kids. I'm sorry for the loss of the one. And I'm also so impressed that you were fully pregnant, fulfilling, what did you say, 300 orders the day before you go and give birth on Christmas Day. I mean, these are magical stories that should be turned into a Hollywood movie. They're very, very inspiring. So with all this going on and all this success, and I do have different questions about the franchise, and I guess I'll stop with that and ask, did they tell you how to do the marketing? Did they tell you, did the people that you bought the franchise template from give you all of the things that you needed to do, like a notebook and saying you have to do all of these things to bring the customers in? Otherwise, how did you get customers to come in the door?
Okay, so I love that question because it's right up, it's typical of who I am. So yes, they did give us a marketing campaign, and they do, we pay a levy for particular marketing. But one of the mottos that we always had in our store was every single campaign, we would do more than what they did.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
would go out and some of the things that we adopted over the years, they now use within the franchise system. So that's kind of nice for us to know that, that they were good ideas. But I just wanted to be known as something a little bit different. For example, if the campaign had an orange theme, I would go out and buy orange T-shirts and orange caps. And now within the system, every time there's a campaign, there's like aprons that come out within, I would just decorate the store. They gave you ideas on how to decorate the store and what to do, but I always wanted to do that little bit more, like that little bit better, that little bit extra each time. So that's really what we did in our business, which is why I think it was another reason why I think it was successful, is we didn't settle for exactly what we were told to do. We did that bit extra each time.
Yeah, you followed Napoleon Hill's advice and went the extra mile and did something a little bit more. What about with the food itself? Did you adjust the recipes? Did you do anything different? I have a friend in Australia, and this is decades ago. His son had a bakery. And one of the reasons the bakery there became famous, and it wasn't a franchise, it was their owned bakery, is that he always put 10 or 15% more fruit in his muffins, for example, than the competitors might. And as I understood it, they marketed that, and that's one of the reasons people would go to it. They got 10% or so more fruit. Did you do anything with the recipes that were given, or you were told this is the way it is, just do it this way?
Yeah, unfortunately, we weren't allowed to do that. We had to
Ah,
stick. We had to stick to the recipe. People
okay.
didn't want to go to different stores
Oh, I see.
and get different product. But the
Mhm.
good thing is now that I'm out coaching, I'm coaching other bakeries, and I can finally show them how to, all the little things that we would have loved to have done. But we followed the system. That's another reason why it worked. We followed the system and did what we were supposed to do. We provided consistent quality all the time, so
Mhm.
customers knew what they
Mhm.
were getting when they were coming. So yeah, but now I can do exactly what you said. I can advise someone to put that extra fruit in the muffin
Right.
and market it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
This is so remarkable here. So when you were running that business, did you feel like, I'll ask it differently. I want to know if getting a franchise is still as viable today as it was 28 years ago. So in other words, I don't hear about franchises so much, and maybe I'm not in the market to hear about them. So I'm asking you, as now you're a coach to these people that are having bakeries and franchises, is getting a franchise a ticket to success today?
I I would say that I probably not like it was when
Hmm.
we did it way back all those years ago. I think it's a little bit harder, like to
Hmm.
make the money that that we could back when it started. But we saw those changes as we went through over the years. So it was getting a bit harder and harder. So
Hmm.
you had to always think smart. So you had to look at all your different expenses, and because everything's going up, and so you still can absolutely, if you buy the right franchise in the right
Hmm.
location and work smart, you can make it work. And that's what I'm having fun doing, is going out there and showing people little tips and tricks and things that maybe that we wouldn't have known when we started either, but because we've
Yeah.
been around for a long time, we've managed to find out those things that can help and put extra money in your pocket, but also give you lifestyle, at the same time, life balance.
Yeah, well, that would be priceless information. The other question I think would be, instead of getting a franchise, do you think it's still viable to open your own version? So, for example, today, not 28 years ago, but today, rather than getting a franchise for a bakery, just to use it as an example, would it be wiser to open my own bakery?
100%. I would say,
Wow. Okay.
I would say, but it is very hard to do a startup business from, as you would know, from the
Hmm.
start. So you'd want to have pretty good advice, and have a lot of knowledge before you go into it. But I think that there's definitely an advantage of, having your own building and having your own business, being able to change things as you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
There's security in a franchise, for sure, and probably a little bit scary going out. But I think if we were to do it again, we would do it on our own.
Wow, that's great. That's great to hear. Okay, so here's where you and I need to help the people that are watching or listening to this show. What I do is try to pretend that there's somebody who is watching or listening to us, and they're fairly excited. They want to be an entrepreneur, they want to own their own business. Maybe they want to open a bakery. They don't have the money for a franchise, and maybe they're not sold on the franchise for a lot of different reasons. And so they want to do it themselves. And whether it is a bakery or a pet sitting service or I don't know, a carpenter's shop, what would be the top two or three things they should do to begin with before they go out and get a loan or tap their credit cards? Where do you think they need to start?
First of all, I think they have to look at something that they're passionate about.
Hmm.
I always think, and authentic to themselves. I always think it's no use being a celiac and opening a bakery. So,
Yeah.
so I think you have to do something that aligns with who you are,
Hmm.
because that will show through with your customers. It'll show through in everything that you actually do, and it will get you out of bed in the morning if you're doing that. So that's the first thing I would say. The next thing is, do your research. Definitely go and look at your competitors and ask questions. Most people that are in business are very open to being helpful. So, and they don't want people to fail. So long as you're not opening up a few doors down from them.
Right next
So
door, right?
yeah. So do your research, and ask the tough questions, like ask, how much money are they making? What how hard is it really,
Hmm.
for what they're doing? Because it can always look good on the outside. You have to dig in
Hmm.
deep to find out
Hmm.
what's happening. But believe, once you have to believe in it, and you have to believe it's going to work the whole time, and be positive. There I we the whole time we have never stopped being positive about our business, regardless of, we had so many distractions along the way, and but we remain positive through them all. So
Well,
yeah,
we need to
that's
look at that for a second, because over the years, most recently with the pandemic, and we've gone through recessions, depressions, and we're in a situation with world scares and people talking about the failing of the dollar and banks closing. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons to get a little nervous if you look out there and pay attention to the marketplace and the media. How did you both, you and your husband and your whole family, how did you maintain positivity? How did you remain optimistic? How did you believe for 28 years that this is going to work when you have ups and downs and surprises and disappointments and good days, bad days, very little sales days, bountiful days? How do you maintain that?
well, I think that we were, like I said, we were always positive. You can't control the things that you can control, but the
Mhm.
things that are out of your control, you can't. So we had
Mm,
there's three significant moments in our business. So one was there was a fire in the shopping centre, which knocked out all the shops almost in the shopping centre, except for ours. But customers had to walk right around the car park to actually come to us. So it's a bit of an inconvenience. So
mm,
we went straight into control mode, and how can we make this work and not lose as many customers as we could. So
mm.
we worked out that we would deliver to their cars. They could ring up and we could run out to their cars. We got T-shirts that said thank you for supporting us, so that every time they would come in, they would see that we were grateful that
Mhm.
that they were supporting us. So gratitude, Dr. Joe, which you
Mm,
teach, that we were
right.
gratitude, that we were grateful that we had the opportunity and that we actually had a business that
Mm,
was still survive. We had a family to look after, we had bills we had to
mhm,
pay, so we had to
mm,
be positive and do that. So another one, we had one of our other stores, we had a roadwalk works out the front for 6 weeks, and so we couldn't
wow.
traffic couldn't the customers couldn't walk across the side of the road to come to us, so we lost half the people. So our staff really stepped up. They took time off, and some went and worked at those that needed the income went and worked at our other store. So we just worked out. We went into how can we make this work, rather than being
Mhm.
doomed that it's going to not work. And then the pandemic, of course,
Yeah.
that what we did is we just streamlined a lot of systems to make that work, and we survived through it. We were fortunate having a bakery. We did see other shops close around us, but people still needed food. So
Mhm,
we were fortunate that they had to still come. They were
mhm,
allowed to come out to get their food, and
mhm.
it was a bit of an outing. But yeah, I always try to look at the positives and what can we do.
Believing Before Seeing, a new book by Candace Barr, teaching you how to believe into existence. Available now for pre-order.
And I'm curious about that. Have you always been that way, even when you were young and growing up? Did you always look for the positive?
I think these I've got smile lines to show that I actually always I smile like a lot, and all my friends would say that I'm like to be positive. And my husband, when I met him, he was also one of the most positive people that I knew. So but I found it was tough at times. It was
Mm,
definitely tough. So I have, in answer to that, yes, I did learn along the way as I got older how to how to find those things when something terrible's happening, how to switch your brain to focus on the things that you have in life. And those sad moments are there, but you can change your mind to be thinking of the good things as well. So
this is beautiful. This is one of the things I wanted to hear, because so many people are not understanding how to do that. In other words, they may be sitting and listening to this or watching this show, and they've maybe had a disappointment. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they've resigned. Maybe the pandemic is still affecting them. Maybe they're sick. Maybe they've got COVID, and they can't switch the brain currently with what they know how to do to a positive outlook. How do you do that? What would you suggest to them? Is there a way to make the shift? Or is there a click? Is there a technique? What have you learned to do that maybe we can pass on and help people with?
yeah, so I have learnt to do that, and sometimes you almost feel a little bit guilty because something tragic has happened to you, and then like you can still enjoy some good moments. So I think what I do is learn that I think it's okay to grieve. Recently, I guess the closest thing to me is I lost my mother a year ago, and we were like very close, and that was a very hard thing for me to do. So that tested my positivity at times. So what I tried to do is whenever I was sad, I tried to think of the good things that I had, the good moments that I had with my mother. So usually when there's something negative or some bad thought going on in your mind, you need to think of what part of that can you be grateful for? What part of that is a good memory or a good moment? And so I just think, it's okay. Yes, I do have those moments, but on the outside, I can, if you look in the mirror and say, I want to be happy, because I do that sometimes. I look in there, and I used to do that to my mum. We'd go into the nursing home, and she would, near the end, she was quite depressed, and I'd just put on the mirror like I'm grateful, I'm happy, and we'd take her in front of the mirror. And I've got a perfect video of my sister and I doing this with her, and she's standing in front of the mirror, and she was having a down moment, and she read the words back to us and smiled and laughed, and we hug her and we give her a kiss, and it's just a beautiful moment. Because you just have to keep telling yourself it's okay to be happy, and I don't know if that helped, Dr. Joe, but that's sort of.
No, that does help. That's great. I also appreciate that you own the grief part of it, because a lot of people don't realize the grief is natural. I lost my parents and my father right before the COVID, and grief is natural. This is a human experience, a love of your life, your mother, my father, all of this. Grief is natural. And at the same time, you can get through this by focusing on gratitude, focusing on the happy memories, focusing on what you're appreciating, and move in a different direction and be healthier as a result of it. So I have a different kind of question before we go into the coaching part of what you do. Given how successful you've been with your husband in the bakery, the 28 years, raising the family, you've written 2 or 3 books, all of this, why did you enter Zero Limits Mentoring? My program that Chuck Pennington and I have been doing for many years, Zero Limits Mentoring. Why did you enter that? What were you looking for?
Well, Dr. Joe, I have been following you for a very long time. One of the first memories I have of you was watching The Secret movie, and it kind of has changed the path that I have gone down, and I read that book and watched the movie. I've read the book; it sits out on my table still today, and so I kind of. You sort of said anything is possible, and and that's a motto that has stayed with me. And lots of things I've followed you in many ways and read your books, and so lots of things that you've said. And this isn't something you've told me to say, so we haven't chatted before this. So I've had my vision board, and my vision board has things have come to fruition, and something has come at the right time for me all the time. There's been a piece of the puzzle that has just keep telling me where to go in life. And ever since, really, that was the big turning point, I have to be honest. And so it was just the right thing. I read it came to me, the Zero Limits advertising, and you were talking about it, and I thought, I've got to join this group. So I did, and that was before my book got published. So during the time with Zero Limits, I was at a point. I had 3 life goals, and they were on my vision board. I'd achieved 2, I think, and I had that to push myself through the book. And so I was I absolutely loved being a part of the Zero Limits mentoring. We got to speak to you. I remember the first time you answered one of my questions, it was like, oh my God, I got off the phone and off the meeting, and I said to my kids, oh my God, Dr. Joy actually answered a question that I've said. So you can only imagine what I did when you asked me to be on this today. But then Chuck, doing the meetings with Chuck and I just really resonated with him. He helped me so much down that path of where I was going, much more than I could have ever expected. So, there's been a piece of the puzzle really for 20 of those 28 years that has come at the right time.
And where do you think those pieces of the puzzle are actually coming from? This is something I'm personally interested in, meaning when somebody says, I was waiting for a piece of the puzzle and it showed up, how did it show up? Where did it come from? Why did you find it? Who put it in front of you? Do you have a speculation on what that is, or a definite, clear answer on where it came from?
So if I'm going to be really honest with you,
Please.
I have people that I say I'm a little bit crazy because my answer to this is I know you won't think that, but so sometimes I have to keep myself inside because there's not everybody believes in it, but I totally 100% believe you put it out there and it happens. You put it out in the universe. You don't just put it out there. Like I had a friend that said, I'm going to win that house on the corner, like that house on the corner. And I said, oh, okay. How are you actually going to win that? She said, well, I've bought a ticket. And I think, well, that's not how it works. Like, you actually have to put it out there, but you have to, you have to do the steps. You have to put the action in place and put the work in to actually make it happen. So I believe that I do believe the universe will bring it to me if I ask for it. If I put it on my vision board, I've had quite a few things come to fruition, some very amazing things come to fruition. If you want me to share one of them with you,
please.
Putting it on my vision board, but you also that one step that people need to remember is that they actually have to go for it. Don't just put it there and wish for it to happen.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. What's an example? The example you want to give?
So this is a massive example. This is one where I think everybody that knows me just has said, well, there is something in what she's saying. So in my book, when I finished it in 2019, I think it was, I wrote in there that I used to have vision boards for my children as they were growing up, and we'd tick it off as they would make a certain level in their sporting career or careers. And at a certain age, they didn't want that vision board there anymore. But one of my sons wanted to have a river shack. So that was his goal. So I put a river shack on the back of his bedroom door, and I wrote about it in my book in 2019. And 2 years ago, there was an opportunity came up where we were in a situation to buy a river shack. It was always sort of a bit of a goal for ours. So not to make the story too long, but we went for this particular house and we got outbidded. So we didn't get outbidded. They had a better offer, finance, and then we bought a block just down the road from that property. Their contract fell through, and we actually bought the house. So we sold our block and bought the house. Whilst we're in the house, I was at work one day and I came home, and my husband said to me, go in and your son wants to talk to you. So I went in his bedroom and he said, Mum, have a look behind the door, because that's where I used to stick it. It was the exact house that we had bought, and I had put the photo there 5 years ago.
I got chills.
And it's a true story, Dr. Joe. It's like, so I just went a little bit crazy because I just said, and that's where my kids actually said, oh, maybe she's not so crazy. Maybe, they always, I think they always believe, but that's one of quite a few things that happened. But to me, that was just like an
Yeah.
unreal
Yeah,
experience.
that sealed the deal.
Yes.
It reminds me of the story in the movie The Secret where John Assaraf was talking about he had the vision of his house on a poster board, and he had forgotten about it. And over time, he ends up buying this house, moving into this house. And when he's moving boxes, he finds the vision board, and the vision is the house he's now in. He's
Yes.
pulling up the board, and there he's looking at it, but he's in it. So it manifested pretty much while he forgot about it. So if somebody wanted to manifest something right now,
Mm-hmm.
what would be a couple steps that you would advise them to do? If somebody is saying, oh, and you can make up anything, but we're imagining there's somebody needs a job or they need money, and maybe they want to buy a house, maybe they want a relationship, they're looking for their soulmate. What Give me the Marie's view or formula for manifesting your own reality.
So there is a definite set formula, but I would, off the top of my head, I would find a picture,
Mhm.
or I would write it down. I would put it where you can see it every single day, so that it's a memory. I
Mhm.
mean, so it's a reminder every
Mhm.
single day.
Mhm.
I would. You've got to have gratitude. I know that's one of the steps. I'm trying to think exactly what I do. I probably don't follow the steps exactly that are there, but I put a picture where I can see it. I think about it every day. I say it to myself, but then I work out that's not just going to happen. What are the things I need to do
Yeah.
to get there? So if it was like run a marathon, it was okay, I need to do some training to do that. Where are the marathons in the area, and or what's the training schedule I can do, and then do it. Like go for it. Visualize it. Visualize having it. Like imagine what your life would be like. Even write down what it will be like if it comes to fruition. So and it will. Believe it. You have to believe that it is going to be true. If you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. So yeah, that's kind
Those
of
are
what I
great
do.
steps. I love that you remind people that they actually have to take action. I keep finding out that's the missing step for a lot of people. They might have heard about a vision or belief or choose what you want or the power of intention, but they seem to get a little foggy brained when it comes to actually taking action. And I remind people life is a co-creation. You have to do something. And I always have said I've written a lot of books, but if I just continued visualizing it and meditating on it and put a picture on the wall of a book being published, I wouldn't have any books written if I didn't actually go and start typing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're saying that. No, I know that you're doing a lot of coaching. Are you doing coaching with everybody, or are you just in the bakery, franchise, small business? Who comes to you for coaching?
Basically, my niche is bakeries, because it's second
Mhm.
nature to me. And someone
Yeah.
can ask something and I know the answer. But life coaching's also become what I found coaching these bakeries. The people within that I'm coaching have actually said, well, give us a little bit more of that. So I started introducing a little bit of that within my coaching, and
Mm,
then that's taken a whole new life on its own. So
mhm.
I have just this week reached out to someone who's not a bakery. Well, they reached out to me, and so that I have coached a few that aren't bakeries, but I think I've got a lot more to give in the bakery
Mm,
industry, because
mhm.
I've got my treasure chest, which is just full of ideas that have
Mhm.
worked over those years, that when you're in the business and you're running it and you're so busy, you don't always get the time to implement these things. So as a
Yeah.
coach, a lot of people know these things. They just need to be guided on how to make it
Mhm.
happen.
Do you have a favorite story of somebody that you have coached, whether it was in baking or the bakery business or in life coaching? Is there something that singles out that you could share with us?
I do.
Okay.
Um, so I had a guy come to me with his wife, and almost a year ago, and he was not in a good place in his life. He wasn't making money, and he was stuck in this franchise, and he didn't know where to go, and his wife said he was lost, and so he said, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to put my faith in you, see what you can do. And here we are 12 months down the track. They gave me a beautiful gift the other day. They've turned their life around. They're about to go on their dream holiday. Excuse me. So so it's been just lovely. But in saying it's been lovely, like they've got profit in the bank this year. Their accountant has actually contacted me and sort of said, can we catch up? Because she's been with him for some time, and just said the transformation. So to me, it's about seeing him happy and seeing him have his zest for life back. And we've done a little bit of, personal coaching as well. So him and his wife are, been doing some fun things together. And he's my, there's lots of little stories, but he's my absolute favorite. But in saying that, they're also, when we say take the action, they're clients that I would go to, and everything that I did, I spoke to them about, they took on board, and they did. So they've got the best results out of everyone. But there was nothing, even if he thought, I don't really know that that's going to work here, he still went with it and found out that it worked. So we're still growing. We're growing every day. Every week I get excited to see what his figures are. So, yeah.
That's outstanding. Well, that leads to a question. The show is called Zero Limits Living. And I usually ask the variation of the question, do we have any limits? And so my question to you is, do you feel that anybody can change, transform, get out of the stuckness, the environment that they might be in? Because I'm seeing and imagining so many people that just feel like, hey, this is good for Marie, it's good for Dr. Joe, but it's not working for me. I'm stuck. This is who I am. It's my DNA, it's my environment, it's my circumstances, it's my parents, it's, they got all kind of excuses, and so they feel locked in. Can anybody change?
Yes. There's only one answer to that. Absolutely. It is, if I could have imagined that I would be doing what I'm doing now, like anything is possible. You just have to believe it, Dr. Joe. So we can change. You just have to, anyone who's famous out there has started from the same place where we are. They've just controlled their mind, like their thoughts, and you just have to believe that it's possible. But it's hard. It's sometimes you'll get knocked back, and you'll think, oh, that didn't work, and that didn't work, or that's why I am. Yes, I come from a poor family, or my father's an alcoholic, or whatever. That's all of these reasons that people think they can't do it. But I would just say I've seen lots of transformations with people over the years, and yes, and if you belong to a group that, or people, surround yourself with people that are going to help you keep that belief alive.
I think that's one of the secrets to success, because we can certainly create change and be positive by ourselves, but it's easier if you have people around you doing the same thing who could hold you up as you hold them up. That's one reason Chuck and I created Zero Limits Mentoring many years ago. At this point, I've forgotten how many years. It's to give people a tool. It's to give them a support system, as well as a way to be mentored by me once a month, and by Chuck as well. So Zero Limits Mentoring is for that very reason. So I have another question for you as we're getting down to the wire, and we're going to have to end here in a moment. And that is, what question were you hoping I would ask you during our time together?
I don't know. I think I had total faith in that you would guide me. I was nervous. I think what overcome that was that I was just excited to be talking with you like this. So I don't know that I really had a particular question.
I love it. I love it. I love that you were so present and so trusting at the same time. And then finally, what do you want people to do or remember? I know you have some freebies at your website, Marie. How do I spell your last name, Marie?
T.
Temby.com,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
MarieTemby.com. And you got a freebie or two there. So I encourage people to go to MarieTemby.com. Is there a thought? Is there a to do? Is there a process? Is there a quote? What do you want people to be chewing on as we ride off into the sunset here?
That if they're at that doubtful stage, then join Zero Limits and be mentored by Chuck and yourself once a month, because it will give you the encouragement. And if you're having I can tell you what, when for some reason the meetings rarely got cancelled, but when something happened and a meeting had to get postponed, it was like, oh, I'm not going to get that zest that I need this
Ah,
week. I'm not going to get that boost that I need. So
hmm,
my one thing is join your crowd, whether it's Zero Limits, whatever it is, but find that support, because it's easy to slow down.
hmm.
You want to keep moving forward, so keep with your crowd. That's probably what I would say. Keep your dream alive, because anything's possible.
I love it. That's great. Keep your dream alive. Anything is possible. And where can they get your books? Is your main one at Amazon or all of them at Amazon?
You can get them at Amazon, but also on my website you can purchase them as well.
Excellent. Marie, you are a delight. I am so glad that you said yes. I'm so glad that you've made time to be here. And I can't wait to actually see you, I guess, in Texas, because I don't plan to go to Australia anytime soon. So thank you, thank you, thank you for doing this for me and for all the viewers and listeners.
Well, I want to say thank you to you, Dr. Joe, for many, many things that I've got in
Mm.
my life. You're certainly a major stepping stone, and one that I intend to continue to use as a stepping stone to keep going where I am. So thank you for everything you bring to everybody. And thank you for having me. What an honor.
Thank you, thank you. Well, everybody, you've been watching or listening to Zero Limits Living. I'm Dr. Joe Vitale. This show is now seen or heard on 1,000 platforms around the galaxy. But just go to ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com and you can see all the shows there. Check out Miracles Coaching at miraclescoaching.com. Check out Zero Limits Mentoring, which we were talking about a few times, ZeroLimitsMentoring.com. Check out my new book, Unexpected Kindness. Check out Miracles Coaching. Meanwhile, I want to thank Lux Media Studios, Candace Barr for making the show possible, Chris and Nick in the engineering department, and thank all of you for making the time to be here. You're the ones we're doing this for. I love you and expect miracles.